listening to the Terrific Teacherpreneur, a podcast for teachers looking to grow a successful online business. Your host, Alex, was able to transform her Teachers Pay Teachers store from a small side hustle into a profitable full-time business. She now helps other teachers do the same. Listen along for actionable tips and helpful wisdom about business and marketing as a teacherpreneur. Here's your host, Alex.
Hello and welcome to the Terrific Teacherpreneur podcast. Now, the topic that I'm going to be talking about is going to be very different. Listening to this is going to be very different to what we normally do on the podcast. I've actually been a bit nervous to even talk about this, honestly. It's something that's been on my mind for the last couple of years, probably since I had my daughter Lily, for obvious reasons, as you'll soon see. But I was a bit nervous about it. I was like, it makes so much more sense to just talk about really specifically TPT things, and just to keep it kind of safe and just talk about topics like previews or whatever. Topics like this can be kind of contentious. They can be kind of confronting. But the reality is that what I'm going to be talking about, this topic is profoundly going to be impacting your business if you're a woman. And so I think it's just like pretending this doesn't exist is ridiculous, basically, because it's going to have a huge impact on your business if you're listening. So I think it's time we talk about it, and I'm going to be brave and do it. So basically, the topic is I'm going to be talking about the division of labor in the home, domestic duties. Just to really quickly break down what I mean. Literally talking about how there is an unequal division of labor and women disproportionately tend to do more household related duties. I'm talking if your physical things come to mind probably straight away for you, you might be thinking, yeah, I'm the woman, I'm in a relationship and I do more cooking and I do more cleaning. But there's that, yes. But there's actually it's a very in-depth topic and there's a lot more to it than that. There's a lot of emotional labor and cognitive labor, mental load kind of stuff, timekeeping and time management and managing schedules. And there's a lot more than just physically cleaning the bathrooms, but women in general take on more of this. And so I really, really want to talk about this topic because, of course, this is something that affects your life, hugely affects your life and the time that you have. And how is that not going to affect your business? Because it's things that take up your time, things that are a big part of your life are going to trickle down and affect TPT. That's the reality of it. So I want to really start off really quickly though with just, who this episode is for. Unfortunately, it's not for men. Sorry. If I have any male listeners, I know mostly I have female listeners. It's not really for men. And I'm not really sure this really particularly applies to same-sex couples, but this is going to be especially powerful for you if you are currently married or in an otherwise partnership, got a partner, a heterosexual relationship. So you are married to a man, you're with a man, living with a man, whatever. It's going to be especially important to you if you have children. So, basically being a parent will be a big thing here. But I want to add something here. Just because you're listening and you're thinking, oh, I'm actually currently single at the moment, or I'm currently childless, child-free, I don't have children right now. You might even be listening and you're slightly older and your children have grown up and moved out of home. You might think, oh, this doesn't apply to me because I'm not some young married woman. It does actually apply to you, assuming that you are in any kind of relationship with a man. The reality is this still applies to you even if you don't have children. If you don't have children right now, but you plan on having children, this will apply to you. It's still worth listening to. And even if you're, like I said, a bit older and you don't have children at home with you, you're kind of retired or you're living with your husband and say you're in your 60s and you're I don't have kids, running around the house. This doesn't apply to me. It actually does apply to you. My mum would really benefit from listening to this, and that's all I'll say on the matter. Her and my dad are both retired, and if you had to take a guess, who does more housework and stuff? Anyway, she would benefit from listening to this. So yeah, it actually pretty much if you're a woman, a straight woman, this usually applies to you. Anyway, I want to start off this episode with some daunting facts. I don't want to scare you. I just want to, get you to really take this topic seriously, truly understand the implications of it, kind of have that moment where you go, oh my goodness, and really, really think about, I don't know, just kind of get you, I'm not trying to trigger you here, but just kind of get you thinking, oh wow, this is a serious topic. This is my life. This is applying to me. This is impacting me negatively. This is just to kind of basically embrace the reality. So I'm going to throw some statistics and things at you to really get you thinking about it. But I also do want to provide some solutions and talk about how we can improve the situation and how we can make things better for you so that you have literally more time and energy to work on your business, because this topic affects the amount of time you have and the energy or mental bandwidth you have to dedicate to your business, whether that's just a TPG store or you have a membership or a course or whatever. it's going to drastically affect it. And the goal here is for you to find more time to work on your business, to have more capacity to do so by having that more equal division of domestic labor in your home. And it's going to be, I think, a game changer if you do follow through with this advice and, do what I suggest and stuff. I'm really, really excited if it hopefully helps you. But anyway, let's start with the scary stuff. So I have a couple of things to share with you. So according to, this is like a 2024 report on gender inequality. So women are responsible for about 58% of housework. They spend more time on housework than men. So, say about 12 hours per week instead of maybe men spending about 5 or 6. Women tend to be primarily responsible for more laundry, cleaning, cooking. Men tend to be more responsible for things like, yard work, mowing the lawn, looking after the car, things that aren't daily chores, things that just kind of end up happening more infrequently. And this is some interesting stuff. I mean, so that's like just stuff that, I found when I was researching on Google, but I was also looking on Instagram at a really great account. And this is something I will be talking about later on when we talk about strategies, but it's the Fair Play Instagram. So it's called Fair Play. And here are some really interesting posts they shared. I'm just going to share a couple of statistics with you. So these are all according to research and studies. Women spend on average 100 hours more per year on household chores than men do. Mothers reported being responsible for 72% of all cognitive labor compared to their partners. 62% of mums say they have less than 1 hour to themselves each day. 90% of partnered mums said that they were alone responsible for keeping track of their entire family's schedule. There's even a fun one here. 59% of the time, even when both parents said they were equally available, the schools were calling their child's mother every time over their father. This is the sort of stuff that just constantly is always put on women. And so when we start looking at these things, okay, we know women are spending more time on these things. How is that negative impacting you? And it's not just, I don't get to work on TPT as much. This impacts your mental and physical health. But mothers who take on that disproportionate share of mental load kind of stuff, cognitive labor, have high levels of depression, stress, relationship dissatisfaction, burnout, and then just in general, worse mental and physical health. So 42% of working mothers have been diagnosed with anxiety, depression. And then, it's pretty frightening, but there's a couple of things that I've seen over the years that have come up, and it's that women tend to have something called less leisure time, free time than men. So by about 5 hours a week, maybe the husband goes golfing and kind of gets all this time to himself, goes to the gym, whatever, and video games, watching TV, all this kind of leisure time to himself, and women aren't really getting that. And then the other thing is there's a fitness gender gap. So women have less time to do things like work out and do physical stuff. So their health is paying the price. And the reason I mention those is because, your mental and physical health is going to be drastically affected. And this is more than just, I don't get enough time to work on TPT. This is I am, I'm anxious, or I'm depressed, or I'm, my physical health isn't great. My mental health isn't great. All of that stuff. And that's going to, of course, impact your business, the energy and the motivation that you have towards creating a resource. You sit down to your computer and you're I don't even feel like opening PowerPoint right now because all I feel is exhausted. All I feel is tired and lethargic, and mental health wise, I am feeling so low, and all that kind of stuff. Of course, it's going to affect our business. So scary, but true. And so the last bits I want to share are just to kind of counteract a little bit of that. You might have some thoughts of, okay, Alex is sharing some, very damning sort of statistics around how women tend to do more. But, and then you might have a justification. And this might be something along the lines of, my husband is a provider and he earns the money or earns more money. And so here's a couple of things to just keep note of. One is that 45% of American women in most marriages make the same amount of money as their husbands or more. So we're not in that day and age anymore where we can just guarantee that men are the ones doing all the earning or out earning. And just in case you kind of thought, okay, look, I have to do more of this stuff, Alex. I have to do more cooking and cleaning and childcare and whatnot, more than my husband, because I earn a lot less than him. Maybe you're a teacher and your salary as a teacher is just, is not much compared to what he earns in his job. He's an engineer, for example, and he earns loads of money. So you say, I earn less, even though we both work full time. Or you tell yourself, I work part-time, or I'm a stay-at-home mum, or I'm earning less money. My TPT store is new or growing. It's it's not bringing a lot of money. Basically you tell yourself, my husband is bringing in more money, so I therefore have to do more cleaning, cooking, and childcare. Here's a really scary fact for you. It's I don't know, quite confronting. So one is that women are more likely to do housework even when their male partner is unemployed. So your husband can get fired tomorrow and you're probably still going to end up doing more. This is the scary thing, and this is something I can attest to. So even in marriages where women earn more than their husbands, women are still doing the majority of housework. So spending about 3.5 hours more per week on caregiving and household chores. So even if you earn more, you're still going to be doing the majority of it. Doesn't change, doesn't switch over. Scariest part is this: when mums out-earn their husbands, they gain more housework, which is just wild when you think about it, because we think we have this like idea in our minds of like men as providers earning more money, women doing a lot more housework and stuff. And like, that's just the way it is. But no, women are getting to the point now where we're actually earning more than our husbands. We're still doing more. And actually, the studies are finding women are taking on even more housework and chores. And I don't know if it's some kind of compensation thing because we're going against societal norms, like to make the men feel better about that disparity. I don't know. I personally out-earn my husband, and I can attest that no, it hasn't switched things around to the point where I'm now like a man and I do next to nothing. So no, yeah, I can anecdotally say that's true as well. It's like, you basically, if I'm just giving that reality check, if you're telling yourself that you're earning less money or working less hours than your husband and that's why you do more, tomorrow your husband could get fired or suddenly earn less, move jobs, whatever. Like that whole dynamic could flip. You could now be the breadwinner and you will still be doing the majority of domestic labor. So that's just to kind of get you thinking, getting rid of those excuses we tell ourselves. You know, the society's been telling us that that's why we do more. And then we just want to throw in there, like in general, just in case you've been telling yourself, like, I'm better at it, or women are just more naturally suited to it. Like, it's all just rubbish. Unfortunately, it's all just like societal's norms have been telling us that women are like better at things, or, you know, I'm better at doing it than my husband. It's a really fascinating thing to look into. If you've never heard of it, it's called weaponized incompetence, something that's often quite, you know, taken over by men, where they kind of pretend to be bad at things, basically. So that, you know, like, oh, if I do kind of make a mess of this, then she'll just take over the task because it's easier to do it herself. So, you know what I mean? So they're kind of like, oh, I don't know how to do this. And they like fold the laundry really terribly and they don't know how to work the machine and they make it so difficult for you. You go, forget it. I'll just do it. And it's that, yeah, so that's a whole thing to look into. Now, okay, I have shared all the kind of scary realities just to kind of get you thinking about, like I said, what the situation is. So you can't like pretend it isn't real, kind of acknowledging that for yourself. And then I'm hoping I've dispelled a couple of those little myths of like why we tell ourselves it makes sense for us to do it. And yeah, there's really, we can make as many excuses as we want as to why we're doing it. But at the end of the day, it's not about skills. It's not really about being better at it. It's not really about how much you earn or how much time you have. Like none of that really matters. It's all just a personal choice. And a lot of the time, men are choosing not to do these things because why? It's not fun. Nobody thinks it's fun to do laundry. So, well, maybe some people do. I don't know. But yeah, so it's all just like, okay, well, society says I don't have to, and I'm going to kind of play into that. Anyway, so now you've had that little reality check. I want to kind of share like a little bit about how my experience with this and talk to you about a solution and like how I think you can fix this if this is something that, you know, you really resonated with and you're sitting here thinking, oh, wow, this applies to me. You know, like I'm cooking dinner every night. I'm the one that's doing the majority of childcare. I'm doing everything to run our home. And it's kind of hit you how much is on your shoulders. And it's especially really confronting, like I said, not just if you out-earn your husband, but even if you earn similar amounts, whatever, but if you're working the same amount of hours, you're both working 40 hours a week in a full-time job, you're a teacher, oh my goodness, like teaching is insane. As a career, it's so full on. Then you realize, well, why is it that when the evening rolls around, we both come home from our workplaces? Why am I doing more? We're both working the same amount of time. Why am I still doing all the cooking and cleaning and stuff? So it can be really confronting to think about. I don't record this episode to like make you feel sad. I kind of wanted to just raise your awareness to it. Like this is the reality that we still in this day and age are expecting women to do more than men. And it's really, really unfair. So solutions, okay? I want to basically guide you towards the people that I think have really got a great solution for this. And that is the fair play system. So Reese Witherspoon, the lovely actress who I've actually been compared to a few times. People have said I look a bit like her. I don't know, my pointy chin. She's really awesome. She did this like book club thing and she highlighted this book called Fair Play. And then it just became like this huge bestseller. If you've never heard of it, it's a book by Eve Rodsky. And it's pretty much, this is a quick summary. It's just like a practical guide for achieving household equality. So it offers like a system basically for dividing and balancing domestic labor, which, you know, obviously helps lead to more, you know, happier relationships, more fulfilling lives. And I can't remember exactly when I read it, but it was after I had Lily. Because before I had children, I was just, I was with Dale, things were great. I probably still technically did more housework or whatever, but like it never felt like that. We, shared things fairly equally. He's always been really great. But when you have children, like that really just changes things drastically. And I think I had a couple of moments of feeling like, whoa, I'm earning a lot more money. I'm like the breadwinner essentially, like the financial responsibility is more on me, working obviously on this business, doing a lot of work. So I'm doing that component. I'm raising this child because he went back to work outside the home. So I was home with Lily, doing all this breastfeeding, all this looking after majority of childcare. I'm, default parent, if you've heard that phrase kind of thing. And of course, obviously was doing either more than my fair share, most likely, of the domestic labor. I was doing a lot of cooking and cleaning and stuff around the house, running the household kind of thing. And I was like, wait, so I'm doing all of that and he's just working in a slightly less paying job. I was like, whoa, how is that fair? That's the reality like that kind of came to me and hit me. Yeah, so I think I've been kind of thrust into that role of primary caregiver, also, running the business and then also with domestic stuff. And I was like, this is a lot for one person to have, and I don't really think this is fair. It didn't feel very fair. A lot of hard moments in the early days of, like postpartum and stuff. And one of the things that was always, I think, was frustrating for me was my husband actually going back to work, even though I was earning more than him. Like I just knew on some level, I was like, wouldn't it make way more sense for me to be the one to kind of go back to work, if you know what I mean? Like I'm clearly earning more. I should be, sitting at my computer working and he should be looking after the baby. Like, shouldn't that be the logical step? But in our society, like that's not common. The reality is men are still often going back to work. Women are often staying home with children. Like we just haven't changed that dynamic. Even when financially it would make more sense, that really kind of, it grated at me. It was very like, do you know what I mean? Like having that idea in my mind of how something should be, like what logically made sense. But that's just not really what society kind of really caters to. It was like, I don't know, my head wanted to explode. Anyway, that's getting a bit personal, but it was a really hard time for me. And then I wouldn't say I was the one doing everything. I wasn't doing all of the cooking, cleaning, blah, 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 in some really unequal, relationship. Dale is amazing and he's always been really hands-on, very kind of a modern man, if you know what I mean, in terms of actually helping out and doing more than just mowing the lawn. But that inequality was just being, really hard on me because I was trying to do the business, trying to look after Lily. And so doing even just marginally more of the domestic labor, it was feeling like a lot. Anyway, so I read the book. Please read the book. That is my one big takeaway from this. And no, I know you're time poor, that's what we were talking about, but go and borrow it from the library, order it on Amazon, like buy it somehow. There are these like little task cards that you need to do, like an activity. And you actually had to buy those and they weren't like particularly cheap. So I actually did a bit of a, TBD. We love using PowerPoint. I think I sat there and typed them all up onto like little cards on PowerPoint and printed them out so I didn't have to buy it. But either way, it's more than just reading the book. The book is really good because it's like this episode, it's going to get you thinking about things. Really great to read, but just reading it and not actually actioning it might not really get you very far. So it's really great to have these little task cards. And the idea isn't to like shame your partner into saying, hey, I do more. The idea is to kind of look at all these tasks and you look at them like in a physical way. They're like sitting in front of you and then you go, okay, let's share this out more equally. And you start pushing things towards each other. And so just to share my experience a little bit, if we kind of stopped that, I'm doing the cooking just because I'm the woman kind of dynamic of like, Dale's actually a better cook than me, just naturally is much better at it. So he actually does a lot more cooking now. And I'm not saying that you have to follow it to a T because there are some components of it where it says, you should take the entire task on. And sometimes that's not reality. Reality is that, some days I've been with Lily all day at home and I'm feeling a bit kind of touched out. And I'm like, I'd actually rather go into the kitchen and chop vegetables and you hang out with Lily for a bit. Like sometimes we don't always follow it exactly. But there's some really great stuff in there. I actually think if you read the book, it'll make you think about TBT in other ways too. She talks about this concept of taking ownership of a task, like truly taking the whole thing on and not like sharing things out. If you tell your husband, I want you to start cooking more, but you're actually the one going grocery shopping, planning the meals, buying all the stuff, telling him what he has to do, getting it all out from him. Like, and you do like 90% of it and all he does is actually fry something in a pan for a few minutes. Like that's not him taking on cooking. So it's about taking on like the whole thing. But she talks about really great things about like task efficiency. And I think that's part of it is having a whole task and doing the whole thing from start to finish yourself and not dividing things up randomly. she calls it like randomly assigned tasks, where you like tell your husband to like, oh, can you go and do this? Can you go and pick up the kids from here? And then he comes back and he's forgotten to do something. And it's because you were like randomly assigning something to him when really you should both just have ownership of things. Like right now I'm recording this episode and Dale is at a swim lesson with Lily and he has 100% ownership of that. Like he researched the swim school. He's the one in control of like paying for it on the app, booking the lessons. Like if he suddenly stopped taking her to swim classes, I would have no idea what to do. I'm basically like a man in this situation. Like what was the name of the swim school again? Like I know nothing. And that's actually how it's supposed to be, because you should fully take on a task and it shouldn't be randomly telling someone to do something. A really cool thing that came from this is it, in terms of relationship repair, like you're not constantly nagging or arguing with each other or resenting each other. You're not going, oh, I wish he did more. I wish you helped more. Oh, can you just do this? Or can you just help me more? And they go, what do you need help with? Write me a list. And then that burdens you even more. Like all of that stuff, like you are just taking ownership of these tasks and it's amazing. Yeah, it gets you thinking a little bit about TPT. I remember reading it and thinking, oh, this kind of applies to when I'm hiring people and how I'm hiring things out. Like I think it's one of the good things to do, for example, is say you wanted to hire out Pinterest, you hire a Pinterest manager who controls your entire platform for you and they do everything to do with Pinterest, instead of you making the pins and then trying to assign them to pin the pins, and then you're going back and forth over email because they haven't done exactly how they were supposed to and you haven't sent them through yet, and all that kind of inefficiency that happens when you kind of share things. As I had thoughts when I was reading it, it was like, oh, this kind of helps me out with TPT. But anyway, really, really fantastic read. So that's my suggestion for you. If reading really isn't for you, even if listening to an audiobook version isn't for you, I mean, you can even just simply go onto like their Instagram or their website, like peruse some of their content and get some ideas. I actually follow a couple other really great accounts on Instagram that just get me thinking about this kind of stuff. Like one of them I like is, her name's Page Turner. So the account is called like She Is a Page Turner. And she just makes these reels where she just like, calls out things like that disparity in leisure time. And you go like, oh my goodness, that's me. Like when was the last time I got to have any time to myself? When was the last time I got to go to the gym or exercise? And you kind of go like, oh my goodness. It really, yeah. So sometimes it's just really important to be aware of these things. That's the only way you can really repair it. Anyway, so highly recommend reading the book, highly recommend doing the actual task card activity and making that time. Even if you don't end up doing this, like you don't end up going through with it, I'm really hoping this episode has just got you purely thinking about this, having this on your mind going, okay, well, this actually isn't fair. I have got a lot on me right now, like a big load, especially if you're working as a teacher or you're working on TPT full-time, whatever, and you've kind of got a lot on your plate with running the business or the side hustle or teaching you all this stuff going on. And adding on all of that, cooking, cleaning, childcare, all that kind of stuff, like your life just becomes so exhausting and tiring and stressful. And it affects things. It's going to affect your business. You're going to literally have, like I'm experiencing right now, because I've had Lily, less time to work on TPT because I'm spending more time, changing nappies or whatever. So that, it's going to hugely impact you. So I'm hoping anyway that this is like a little wake up call for you to think, yeah, maybe I have a little bit of an imbalance in my home. And I would like to rectify that, because if I do, I can now get more time to work on my business, which you deserve, by the way, not just because it's fun or enjoyable for you, which is reason enough itself, but, this could financially really help your family if you were to make more money from your business. Like it's definitely a beneficial thing. And then, of course, all the other benefits to your mental and physical health, but also to your relationship as well. Like you can remember that there are a lot of divorces initiated by women, often a case of these women saying, I'm a married single mum, basically, and it's actually less work to be on my own with the children than it is to have a husband that's like a child. So things like that, like there's so much here that could really help you beyond just, I got more time to work my business. Like this could help you repair your relationship. This could help you in so many ways with your physical and mental health. So powerful. I really hope that this episode has helped, even in some small way, helped you to kind of think about reevaluating things. I don't want you to stop listening to this though, and then just go and like have an argument with your spouse saying you don't do enough around the house. That's definitely not the outcome I want. I just want you to, I think reading the book's a really great way to go, because it talks about how to approach these discussions with your partner, because you do not want to have some big fight about it kind of thing. You want to be able to sit down, have a calm discussion and say, I'm feeling a bit like there's a lot on my plate right now, because I'm trying to juggle work and the kids and looking after the pets and the elderly relatives and running a new TPT business and looking after the house and cooking and cleaning and running errands, and there's a million things for me to do and I feel like I want to scream. And you sit down and you say, this could help me if you could take on some more things, and you give assigned tasks to other people in their entirety, and you say, well, from now onwards, you're going to be responsible for, And that's their thing. And it's a little bit like hiring in TPT. When you own a TPT business and you go, I'm at burnout here, I'm not capable of managing all these marketing platforms, I've always really struggled, I'm going to hire a Pinterest manager to take over my Pinterest. It's the same thing. You're essentially like outsourcing something so you don't have so much on your plate anymore. And a lot of the time people get really good at doing this in their business, but aren't necessarily doing it in their personal lives. You could even, a neat takeaway from this episode is you might even look at your expenses and realize, actually, I've got enough expenses. I could hire a house cleaner. Maybe that will take something off my plate. Like, I've heard that recommended before. And if you can afford it, like things like that are always wonderful. But ultimately, when you take some of this stuff away and you share that with your partner or assign it somewhere else, you're getting more time back. And it's an amazing, beautiful thing. Even if it doesn't necessarily give you more time to work on your business. Like for me, I find it really hard to find time to work on my business, like I said, because Dale's working outside the home and so I'm with Lily a lot of the time. So simply don't get a lot of time to work on my business. But having done fair play and assigned a lot of things to Dale and now his responsibility, and, for example, he cleans bathrooms. I don't have to do that. It's awesome. That's just really great for me in terms of feeling like my plate's full. Like, I don't feel quite so overwhelmed anymore. And like I said, it's that the fact that he cleans the bathrooms might not directly allow me to make a product, because while he's cleaning the bathrooms, I'm watching Lily or something, but it's allowing me to feel less burned out and overwhelmed. And that's like a really powerful thing. Anyway, I think I've rambled on long enough. I hope that this episode has helped. Like I said, I was a little bit nervous about recording it. It's a kind of a contentious topic, and it's definitely not something you would expect on this podcast, because it's like, oh, you're talking about all these like issues with equality. This is not about TPT, but this is about TPT. It's like, there's no denying that connection, that if you have that, and I'm pretty sure you probably do have that unequal division of labor at home, that is affecting your business, hands down. And I highly doubt it not. It's just like impossible for it not to, because it affects your mental health and it affects your time constraints. And we all know those things are massively affecting your business. And just imagining for a second, like how great your life could be if you took some of those things off your plate, handing them over to your partner, for example. Your partner started taking on cooking, or your partner started looking after the children more so that you had more time to work on TPT. Like, how awesome would that be for your business? And that's the goal with this podcast, is always to help you grow your business. And I actually truly think this is probably one of the most impactful ways. Not that to, throw shade at any of my other episodes, like there's anything wrong with me teaching you about covers or whatever, but I could teach you some tips about SEO or whatever, and that's great. I'm sure it'll help you. But what value does that have if you don't get time to sit down and do SEO because you are overwhelmed and burned out from everything involved in your life, especially household labor? So a little bit of food for thought there. Like I said, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I would love to hear your thoughts. Send me a message on Instagram, so at Terrific Selling Tactics, because this is like clearly, as you can tell, a topic I'm really passionate about. So I want to hear your experiences. I want to hear your thoughts on it. I want to hear whether this episode helped you or not. That would totally make my day. You're welcome to post in the Facebook group too, but Instagram's really great. It's just really nice to chat to people. I'd love to hear your experiences. Have you read the book? Did you enjoy the book? Have you implemented it? Has it helped you? Has this episode helped you? Like, let's just talk about it, or even just sharing some of your struggles and stuff. I think that would be so powerful if we can like open up this conversation more, basically. All right. I swear I'm done now. I hope this has helped. I hope you have a terrific day.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Terrific Teacherpreneur. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and review on your preferred podcast listening platform. We really appreciate that effort. Come back for more actionable tips and helpful wisdom in the next episode with your host, Alex. Until then.